are the remains of Lucy. They were discovered in Ethiopia in 1974. These are the remains of Artie. They were discovered in 1994 in the same river valley as where Lucy was found. Anthropologists tell us that these two lived 1 million years apart and that they're both females. Now, they can't find any DNA in these fossilized bones. The anthropologist can tell that they're females because of their bone structure. Females and males are different. And so, if these two lived among us today, would it be difficult to tell that they were females? No, because millions of years later, we can tell that they're females. Hello, welcome to Arcade 85. We're back in the doctor office today. We have quite a presentation. You may recognize me as the Surgeon General of Arcade 85. Or you may recognize me as Captain Cutanium, skin protection superhero. Or you may have dusted off an old VHS cassette and recognized me as Dr. Smash. We're celebrating 30 years of Dr. Smash. Each of these characters, each spawned in its own decade, was designed for preventive medicine through education. You've heard that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Throughout my career as a physician, I've worked hard to help prevent medical problems by educating the public. Unfortunately, a lack of understanding of our genomes has led to a certain degree of confusion surrounding female and male identity. My intent with this film today is to help prevent medical problems that stem from this lack of understanding of our genomes. Before we get into it, let's take a quick peek at an optional exam designed, for those of you interested, to assess your knowledge base leading up to this presentation. Now, of course, we're not testing you on our new material today. There's no point in testing you on something that you don't know. But for you to understand our new material, we will be bolstering up your knowledge base of what's already out there. Hence, this optional exam simply assesses your current understanding of what you've already been taught by others. Some of those questions looked crazy. Sure, go back and give them a try. Take them out for a test drive. We'll still be here when you get back. Don't be discouraged when you get clobbered. Just know that at the moment you're getting clobbered, many are nailing the exam. That's because they've watched this film and they've gone back to nail the exam. You're going to learn so much. Let's begin. Our universe is wonderfully complex. Nature displays so many complicated phenomena. And we've found nothing in the known universe more complex than you. When we're talking about you, the organism, the physical being. You are composed of trillions of individual cells, many trillions of cells. In this presentation, we'll be using the term trillions quite a bit, so let's review. If we were to tick away 1 million seconds, how long would that be in days, do you think? Correct, about 11.5 days. If we were to tick away 1 trillion seconds, how long would that be? Correct, 31,000 years. When you're looking at a person, you're actually looking at trillions of individual cells, each of them containing the entirety of the DNA of that person. Right now, you're looking at trillions of my cells, each of them with my genome. Your genome copy in each cell directs that cell to do what it does. If the genome says, I want you to be an osteoblast bone cell, then that's what that cell is. If the genome says, I want you to be an erythrocyte blood cell, then that's what that cell is. Your genome dictates the function and activity of all of your cells. So you have trillions of copies of your genome distributed through the trillions of cells of your body. Interestingly, there's no central governance to this. These individual genome copies work together with no central leadership, no boss, no director. Nobody tells the genome what to do. The genome tells itself what to do. And somehow all of the trillions of copies of your genome work together to keep you alive and healthy for a lifetime. Your genome owns your cells, which means it owns your tissues, your organs, and it owns you. You are your genome. How much control do I have over my genome? Now, before this presentation, did you ask, how much control do I have over my physical self? Isn't it kind of obvious that your mind directs your body, mind over matter? Not so fast, minder binder. Remember, the brain is also composed of cells. And if you remember, cells are directed by the genome. Hence, the brain, this thing that causes you to have ideas and thoughts and machinations, this brain, these cells are also governed by the genome copies in each of these brain cells. So you have trillions of copies of your genome distributed through your trillions of cells. What are these copies of? These are copies of your original genome. When you were conceived, a half representation of your mother's genome merged with a half representation of your father's genome, and that's you. In the beginning, you were a single cell organism with a single genome. From there, you became trillions of copies of that genome. My, how you've grown. When we said nothing in the known universe is more complex than you, we meant it. In the cell, the genome's linear chains of DNA are wound and clumped and clumped and wound again into worm-like blobs we call chromosomes. This is a karyogram, an analysis of the chromosomes of a single cell. This is 20th century technology still in common use today. A laboratory technician photographs a single microscopic cell, then cuts and pastes the individual chromosomes, lining them up in these pairs. Behold the nuclear genome found in your every cell. As we say, the genome owns your cell, and the DNA that is packed in these chromosomes creates millions of chemical reactions in every second in every cell. In other words, the genome is one hard-working boss. A human cell has 23 pairs of chromosomes. Science has labeled pairs 1 through 22 according to their length. Each pair has one chromosome from your mother, the other chromosome from your father. My, don't they line up nicely? Chromosome pair number 23 seems to be different though. Human chromosome pair number 23 doesn't appear to be placed in order of length with the other chromosomes. It has unusual labeling, and half the time the chromosomes don't match each other. For example, in this karyogram, what's going on here? These are the genome's sex chromosomes found in every cell. The genomes of therian mammals use these X chromosomes and Y chromosomes for sex differentiation. Nearly all mammals on planet Earth today are therian mammals. The only exceptions are the monotremata, the egg-laying platypuses and echidnas. Aside from these, all mammals are therian mammals. Therian mammals such as dolphins, kangaroos, elephants, bats, wombats, pumas, gophers, foxes, cattle, mice, humans, bears, quadrumundis, capybaras, chupacabras, whales. High five, fellow therian mammals. We're all in this together. Our genomes share the same system of sex determination. In therian mammals, a male is an individual whose genome features the genes of the Y chromosome, while a female is an individual whose genome does not feature the genes of the Y chromosome. In this presentation, we'll be referring to these as the definitions of the genomic sex, also known as the genotypic sex of therian mammals. The sex of a therian mammal is not assigned at birth, contrary to the teachings of the activists. Rather, our genomes assign our sex at conception. We are the physical manifestations of our genomes. As you recall, we begin our physical existence as a single genome, packaged in a single cell. If this genome is female, it will orchestrate for itself a mind-boggling cascade of complicated chemical reactions that lead to female development. If this genome is male, it will orchestrate for itself a mind-boggling cascade of complicated different chemical reactions that lead to male development. Of note, the female cascade creates chemicals that inhibit the male cascade, while the male cascade creates chemicals that inhibit the female cascade. Nature puts a lot of effort into having us be female or male. 100 years ago, of course, we had microscopes, but we didn't know much about DNA or individual genes. And we would study Therian mammals and say, the males have a Y chromosome and the females don't. This must be how nature is, assigning a particular chromosome to a particular sex. From a research point of view, today we say, I can't believe how lucky we are. Today, we recognize in the species of life on planet Earth, there are so many different, oftentimes bizarre, sex determination mechanisms, and that nature could have assigned Therian mammals a system far more difficult to interpret. But as it turns out, we are lucky. Nature generously placed the master switch gene, the gene that initiates the genomic chemical cascade for male development, on the crazy little uniquely male Y chromosome. So researchers knew where to look. Even with that, it took a long time. In the years leading up to isolating the actual gene, science was able to nail down which portion of the Y chromosome it would be in, labeling it the sex-determining region of the Y chromosome. In the year 1990, when the gene was found, it was then called the gene of the sex-determining region of the Y chromosome, or the sex-determining region Y gene, or the SRY gene. Researchers tell us this is the master switch that sits atop the genomic chemical cascade that leads to male development. In Therian mammals, a male has an SRY gene in his many trillions of Y chromosomes, while a female has many trillions of her genome copies with no genes of the Y chromosome. It's a binary system, either many trillions of a something or zero of a something. This or that. Male or female, male or female, male or female. Binary, relating to, composed of, or involving two things. When a human declares, I'm non-binary, it generally equates to, I don't understand nature, as some 99.99% of humans easily fit into one of the two binary designations of those who have many trillions of a something, or those who have zero of a something. This or that, male or female, binary. A female Therian mammal can't change into a male, nor can a male Therian mammal change into a female, though many species of invertebrates can change from female to male, male to female, and some species of vertebrate fish and amphibians can. Therian mammals can't. We can't. We don't. It's not in our genomes to do so. Hence, a male mouse remains a male all of its life, and a female wombat remains a female all of its life. Capybaras don't change from female to male, male to female. Neither do gorillas, cattle, seals, bears, gophers, bats, pumas, kangaroos, dolphins, humans, elephants, nor do chimpanzees, nor do whales. Let's say this is the karyogram of a 22-year-old individual. Do you know if this is a woman or a man? Look closely. It's neither. This individual has 24 pairs of chromosomes. It's not human. If this is a therian mammal, it's a male because it has a Y chromosome. And if it has human-like characteristics, it might be another hominid, such as a chimpanzee, a gorilla, or an orangutan, because they have 24 pairs of chromosomes. You may be aware that chimpanzees and humans have a 98 to 99% similarity in our DNA, but there is this big difference in the chromosomal distribution of our genes. Nature assigns our DNA to species-specific chromosome patterns. If a human friend identifies as a chimpanzee, it's nope, your karyogram is not that of Pan troglodytes, but of Homo sapiens. While the human female and the human male both have 23 pairs of chromosomes, the X chromosome contains much more DNA than the Y chromosome. So the female genome has more DNA than the male genome, with the same 98 to 99% similarity between human genders. Of the several thousand species of mammals on planet Earth today, not many have 23 pairs of chromosomes, as do we humans. Which brings us back to Artie and Lucy. How many chromosome pairs did these two have? Remember, they weren't Homo sapiens. Lucy was Australopithecus afarensis, while Artie was Ardipithecus ramidus. Could it be that Lucy had 23 pairs of chromosomes, while Artie had 24 pairs? Could it be that they each had 23 pairs, or each had 24 pairs? We don't know with certainty because, as we say, we can't find DNA in their fossilized bones. Is this the karyogram of a woman or a man? No, but with 19 chromosome pairs, it might be an African lion. As we say, the DNA in these chromosomes is incredibly active at every moment, creating millions of chemical reactions in every cell. So if the chromosomal composition of this cell is different from the chromosomal composition of this cell, that means the cell chemistry of this cell is different than the cell chemistry of this cell, and that the cells of the female lion are different than the cells of the male lion. Hence, they have different tissues, they have different organs, and they are different organisms. Now, rules are made to be broken. Nature is always looking for us to build a better mousetrap. Funny we would say mousetrap because of the several thousand species of therian mammals on planet Earth today. We've discovered that a dozen or so species of therian rodents over time have hacked into the initiation process of the chemical cascade for male development. Some of these rodents have acquired a gene that bypasses the SRY gene, skipping over it to activate chemical reactions downstream in the cascade. These species don't need the SRY gene or even the Y chromosome, so they got rid of them. Others of these clever rodent species appear to have acquired a gene that activates or deactivates the SRY gene, rendering the SRY simply another gene in the chemical cascade of reactions. In these species, the Y chromosome can be found in males and in females because their new gene dictates if the SRY gene is active. Nature's fine with this. Nature says, you got time. A lot of you got time. Let's see what genomic variations you can come up with to enhance the survival of your species. But even with nature's endorsement and our spunky enthusiasm to break rules and to hack systems, in the therian mammal world, we can only find these dozen or so rodent species that have had any success in offering variation to male sex determination. And with that, it appears that the only success has been in how to initiate this male cascade. Once initiated, it appears to be the same cascade that we all have. You've noticed in this presentation, we refer to the system of therian male sex determination more than the female system. The reason for this is that science is still trying to figure out these incredibly complex chemical cascades, and the cascade for female development has been far more difficult to figure out. Now, when nature told us you got time, how much time were we talking about? And when we now learn of the rascally rule-breaking rodent species hacking into the SRY system over time, how long did that take? How old is the SRY gene? Are you ready for this? The therian mammal Y chromosome and its SRY gene date back to the age of the dinosaurs. You remember the classic lineup of the Tyrannosaurus Rex? Roar, taking on the defending Triceratops? Roar, 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 roar. All the while, a scurrying small mammal is trying not to be noticed by these larger reptilians. Ooh, ooh, don't eat me, I'm a mammal. Ooh. Well, if that mammal was a male, its genome featured the genes of the Y chromosome. And if that mammal was a female, its genome did not feature the genes of the Y chromosome. Ooh! So going that far back, scurrying around trying to run from dinosaurs, that's how far back our Therian mammal system of sex determination goes. Ooh! Don't eat me! I have an SRY gene and a Y chromosome! Ooh! Let's conduct a quick survey. With a show of hands or on your keypad, let's answer just one question. Have you in your lifetime ever contemplated the genomic sex determination system of scurrying mammals in the age of the dinosaurs? Nope, not many of you. With that, you can now see the intent of this presentation. Congratulations, you're now smarter. And we're not just giving you fun facts. You now have a more clear perception of the universe, which is Therian mammals, including you and me, have been the same females and males with the same genes, now on a geologic timetable. Some activists try to tell us that sex is a spectrum. Let's see, how broad are your shoulders and do you cry in movie theaters? Sex isn't a spectrum. The sex of Therian mammals is a binary genomic phenomenon beget by nature through a process dating back to the age of the dinosaurs. Humans, this isn't about us. If all of us were to pack our bags and blast off to another planet, leaving Earth with no more humans, the Earth would simply be -1 of its millions of species of life and would still be teeming with Therian mammals, X and Y sex determination, SRY genes, and gender. And we humans would receive a participation trophy. Thanks for playing. Remember, history shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man. Now, before any of you non-human Therian species start to get too cocky about this, teasing humans about this, remember, it's not about your species either. The Y chromosome and its SRY gene predate all of us. They were around before there were bats, before there were elephants or foxes or seals or gorillas or kangaroos. None of our species existed in the age of the dinosaurs, yet our system of sex determination did. It's not about us. Is this the karyogram of a woman or a man? You're not going to fall for this anymore. No. First thing you look for is 23 pairs, and it has 22 pairs. Is this the karyogram of a woman or a man? With 22 pairs of chromosomes, it is not. But it could be the karyogram of a blue whale. The blue whale is the largest animal on planet Earth. Step aside trillions, the blue whale has quadrillions of copies of its genome. Yes, a male blue whale has quadrillions of copies of its SRY gene, while a female blue whale has quadrillions of copies of its genome with no genes of the Y chromosome. Remember, each of your cells has a complete copy of your genome, which includes these sex chromosomes. Yes, the cells of your eyes are all either female or male cells according to your genome. The cells of your skin are all either female or male according to your genome. The cells of your heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, organs are all female or male according to your genome. How do we feel about this? Locked into our immutable genomic sex, multiplied by trillions of copies throughout our physical self. What if a male doesn't want to be a male? What if a male gopher or a male polar bear were to throw up its paws and say, I don't want to be a male? It's out of luck. Its trillions of genome copies and its trillions of cells declare every moment of every day it's a male. If a boy or a man wonders if he's a female trapped in a male body, it's his male brain that is wondering. Hence, the answer already lies in his genome copies of the neurons of his brain. He has a male brain. He's a male. It's an open and shut case in the real world. His brain might imagine a make-believe existence wherein he's a female, but again, that make-believe existence is a product of his male brain. When a girl or a woman asks herself, what are my gender identity options? Shall I identify as a male? Shall I identify as non-binary? These questions are generated by, you guessed it, her female brain. Each of the cells of her brain are directed by a copy of her female genome. She is a female and her brain is female. Her billions of brain cells aren't familiar with maleness. They don't know the genes of the Y chromosome. Her brain has already permanently identified as female. She's a female. She has so many trillions of female genome copies throughout her physical self, telling her every moment she's a female. It's overwhelming. If she were to become friends with a female dolphin or a female Asian elephant, no doubt they would know that she's female, regardless of her thoughts or behaviors. And perhaps they might instinctively grasp a concept that the human has yet to figure out, which is she cannot get rid of her genomic female self. She will never not be female. In other words, you can't get rid of your genome.
On the planet where I come from, Buck Rogers is on TV. Don't forget your Battlestar Galactica. These are the shows we like to see. There's just one thing that makes us oh so sad. Earthlings blew off through a wave like just some passing by. Give me more new wave with that lost in space sound I crave.
Let's briefly discuss aneuploidy of X and Y chromosomes. Aneuploidy means extra or missing chromosomes. We imagine sex chromosome aneuploidy occurs in small numbers throughout the therian mammal world, but this is still a hypothesis, not yet proven. Most of our understanding of sex chromosome aneuploidy is from studying our human species. Sometimes a female is conceived with only one X chromosome. As it doesn't have the genes of the Y chromosome, it's a female and has the physical characteristics of a female. In humans, we call this Turner syndrome. Sometimes a female is conceived with an extra X chromosome. Once again, as it doesn't have the genes of the Y chromosome, it's a female and has the physical characteristics of a female. Sometimes a male is conceived with an extra X chromosome. As it has the genes of the Y chromosome, it's a male and has the physical characteristics of a male. In humans, we call this Klinefelter syndrome. Sometimes a male is conceived with an extra Y chromosome. Once again, as it has the genes of the Y chromosome, it's a male and has the physical characteristics of a male. As you can see, sex chromosome aneuploidy doesn't lead to sex ambiguity. Also of note, in these last three genomic presentations in humans, these individuals tend to be taller than most of us, where individuals with Turner syndrome tend to be shorter than most. Let's spend a moment discussing intersex, another category of rare and highly instructive genome anomalies. By the way, all of us, all therian mammals, have genome anomalies to one degree or another. As our genomes are composed of billions of individual DNA nucleobases, we each have our unique variations. The word intersex means between the sexes. These individuals have genomes with corresponding physical characteristics that to some extent overlap with both sexes. Most intersex individuals have genomes that feature genes of the Y chromosome. Were this not so, they would be genomic females, not intersex. In therian mammals, the majority of intersex cases occur when an XY male embryo has a genome anomaly on one of its chromosomes that to some degree disrupts the cascade of chemical reactions required for male development. With trillions of Y chromosomes, these individuals are binary genomic males, yet with physical characteristics often more resembling those of females. Other forms of intersex can occur when an incomplete portion of the Y chromosome is passed on to a zygote genome. An extremely rare form of intersex occurs when, as zygotes in the womb, a sister and her fraternal twin brother fuse together to develop into a single embryo, which then becomes a single individual. Half of the cells of this individual are XX female, and the other half of the cells are XY male. Of course, it's not a 50-50 perfect mathematical split, but you understand. This chimeric intersex individual with trillions of Y chromosomes now meets the criteria of being a genomic male, yet represents the epitome of intersex. Such mosaicism is exquisitely complex and causes us to wonder, how often in nature would this happen between two fraternal twin sisters or two fraternal twin brothers and go unnoticed? How many of us in the therian mammal world are walking around with two different genomes in our physical self? Ah, nature. As we say, to some extent, we all have genome anomalies. Those with significant genome anomalies can face substantial challenges, both medical and social. As a society, it's important that we educate ourselves on our therian mammal genomes, which is what we're doing in this presentation. This is the best way that we can understand the situations and challenges of those with significant genome anomalies. Unfortunately, political activists try to capitalize on the existence of intersex, forwarding their activist lie that because certain individuals can't be easily categorized into one of the two sexes, there must not exist actual males or actual females. It's all in our heads. Sorry, activists, but the entire therian mammal world and all of nature doesn't just exist in your heads. Discuss the word gender. We begin with its changing definition. Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language, published in the year 1828. Gender, a sex, male or female. This definition modifies a definition printed in the century previous. Samuel Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language, printed in 1755. Gender, a sex. Ah, that's Samuel Johnson, keeping it simple. Both of these dictionaries feature other definitions of the noun gender, each quoting Shakespeare's reference to one gender of herbs, and each addressing gender in language. As you know, many languages assign female and male to all nouns. But these are the definitions of the gender of an individual. These definitions represent a centuries-old premise that the word gender is a synonym of the word sex. These dictionaries also define the verb gender, each quoting the King James Version of the Bible, initially published in 1611. Leviticus 19:19, "Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind," and also quoting Shakespeare's Othello, published in about the year 1603. "A cistern for foul toads to knot and gender in." Now let's forward to Webster's Dictionary 1913. Gender, sex, male or female. Now we find commentary in these newer brackets. Obsolete or colloquial. Come on, guys, it's the year 1913. Let's get more modern. We have aeroplanes in the sky. Why are we still using this older term gender? Yeah, everyone knows it means male and female, but we have a zippier word called sex. So when we're talking about individuals, males and females, let's use the word sex. And when we're talking about language and the attributes of language, then we can use gender. Well, I guess that plan didn't work out. So go the best laid schemes of mice and men. Today, a different group is trying its hand at messing with the word gender. More specifically, activists are working hard to change the definition. Today, when we Google the definition of gender, this pops up from Oxford Languages. Gender, the male sex or the female sex, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones, or one of a range of other identities that do not correspond to established ideas of male and female. In the Britannica Dictionary, the first definition reads, gender, a person's own sense of being male, female, some combination of male and female, or neither male nor female. In the Cambridge Dictionary online, the first definition reads, gender, a group of people in a society who share particular qualities or ways of behaving which that society associates with being male, female, or another identity. Let's hear from our activist colleagues at the World Health Organization. Gender refers to the characteristics of women, men, girls, and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being a woman, man, girl, or boy, as well as relationships with each other. As a social construct, gender varies from society to society and can change over time. In the United States, let's hear from the National Institutes of Health. Oh my, except for these yellow words, it reads word for word what the World Health Organization had to say about gender. Uh-oh, somebody's copying somebody, but I don't mind. They're just bogus statements of activism. Speaking of activism, let's hear from the Centers for Disease Control. Gender, the cultural roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes expected of people based on their sex. Let's read what the activists have written for Wikipedia. Gender includes the social, psychological, cultural, and behavioral aspects of being a man, woman, or other gender identity. Depending on the context, this may include sex-based social structures, i.e. gender roles, and gender expression. And back to Johnson's Dictionary, 1755, gender, a sex. Statements based on these new definitions of gender are often confusing from the perspective of the traditional definition. For example, there are many genders. Gender is independent from genomic sex. I'm gender fluid. Gender is a social construct. We're considering gender-affirming care for our child. What's the reason for these new definitions? Has there been a scientific breakthrough causing us to redefine gender? No. If anything, our scientific progress has reinforced our understanding of the strikingly binary nature of dimorphic mammalian sex. Then why change the traditional definition of the word gender? It seems it was getting in the way of the plans of the activists. You know how sometimes you're an activist and you have plans, but there's one word that's interfering with those plans? Come on, fellow activist, you know what we need to do. We're going to change the definition of that word, but we're going to pretend to have no fiendish intent. Who are these activists? For what cause is their activism? We'll address these questions later in the presentation. These new definitions of gender have problems. Let's address some of the more obvious ones. Let's say you go to lunch with your friend. We'll take my car, he proposes. You then realize he doesn't have a car, only the idea of a car or the notion of a car. He tells you, no worries, I got this. He doesn't got this. He doesn't have a car. He then chants, incorporeal cars are cars. Incorporeal cars are cars. What a weird friend. Let's say another friend at work says, my car is a Lamborghini. Cool, you say. Later in the parking lot, you see her getting into a car that's old and rusty and clearly not a Lamborghini. Is your Lamborghini at home, you ask? No, my car is a Lamborghini, she says. This is an automobile. She can see that you're confused. The definitions have changed, she continues. The word car now means the vehicle you want to drive. My car is a Lamborghini. This we call an automobile. And you say, so what you're driving you no longer call a car? Correct. A car is what you want to drive. My car is a Lamborghini. This is an automobile. Now things are starting to click in and you go, wait a minute, what's with my friend and the incorporeal cars? This is weird. So you pull out on your phone an online dictionary that reads car, an incorporeal notion of a vehicle one wishes to possess. And you say, what lunatic would change the definition of the word car? And at that, change it from something that's material and physical to something that is immaterial. Of course, a car, according to its traditional definition, is a physical entity. A car is made of steel and glass and rubber. Matter matters, and a car is made of matter. In like fashion, gender, according to its traditional definitions, is the DNA in your many trillions of genome copies throughout your physical self. DNA is matter. Genes are matter. Your genome is matter. Matter matters. So the traditional definition of gender is backed by your many trillions of genome copies found throughout your physical self, while the new definitions of gender are backed by nothing. They're not even backed by thin air, which is matter. They're backed by nothing. Matter matters. The new definitions of gender are fictional. As we've discussed, therian mammals don't change from female to male, male to female. We are conceived with a single genome, which then multiplies to become many trillions of copies of itself. which means the cells of the brain have the same sex chromosomes as the cells of the rest of the body. There is no gender incongruence between the brain and the body. They're both subject to the same genome. So if a troubled or concerned person says, I must be in the wrong body, that's why I don't feel right, it's the wrong body, that person has simply arrived at an incorrect conclusion. And this is okay, we all arrive at incorrect conclusions. The fiction takes place when activists drum up a storyline. Hey, let's create a fantasy scenario where sometimes you are in the wrong body. And let's add to the story that people can have their own sense, with no regard to their genome, people can have their own sense of whether or not they're in the wrong body. So in this fantasy realm, it doesn't matter what my genome says. I have my own sense of being male, female, some combination of male and female, or neither male nor female. Hey, and let's give this sense a snappy name, something that pops, something that says, yow! Let's call this sense gender, a person's own sense of being male, female, some combination of male and female, or neither male nor female. So activists created a new imaginary sense, but didn't create for it a new name. Instead, they gave it an old name, a very old name, a name that for hundreds of years now, English speakers have known means a sex, male or female. How hard is it to make up a new name? You already put the work into creating this pretend non-existent sense. Why not give it a new name? So the traditional definition of gender is being encroached upon by these new and mostly unwelcome definitions. If you're a fan of American football, you recognize this term encroachment. It's when a player lines up offsides, illegally occupying the turf of the opposing team. Appropriation, commandeering, invasion, obtrusion, theft, it's taking over the domain of another. Encroachment. So why redefine the word gender with these new definitions that encroach upon and clash with the traditional definition? It's confusing. The activists know that our word gender with its traditional definition is relevant. Gender, a sex, male or female. Male, female. These are material, physical entities that are real. The traditional definition of gender is real. It's a real word defining real entities. So we can see why the activists would want to assign a real word like gender to their fake, fabricated sense, trying to slap that word gender onto their nonsense to see if it sticks, like a bumper sticker. But, like in the earlier example of the incorporeal cars, we know that simply because you call something by a material name doesn't mean that it's real, especially if it's incorporeal nonsense. Incorporeal cars are not cars, and this made-up sense is not gender. So activists are working hard to redefine the word gender, even though we all already know that it means a sex, male or female, and that we've known this for hundreds of years. But their encroachment is crazier than that. Etymologists tell us that the origin of the word gender is thousands of years old, that in the ancient language of Proto-Indo-European, there existed a word whose definition was to beget, to bring about, and that word was gen or gena. To begin to appreciate the impact of this word on modern languages, one must know that genus genus generates genuinely genteel genitive genres. Genius is genesis, generally generic generational generosity, genitalia gender genes, genealogy, genetics, and genome. Wow. Hey, why is the word and highlighted? Oh, it's the only word not highlighted? Well, that makes it look highlighted, right? Can we change that? Different color? Oh, that doesn't work. What do we do? Oh, perfect, smaller, perfect. How often do we find a ridiculously long sentence with words exclusively coming from the same root word, with the exception of and, which made it look highlighted? Gena, to beget, to bring about. Now, our traditional definition of the word gender stays true to its root word gena, in that being female or male is brought about, beget, as we're brought about, begotten, conceived by our parents. that our gender comes from our genome. In contrast, today's whimsical pixie dust imaginary definitions are mismatches. They don't align with the root word gena. Activist, you hijacked the wrong word. So if you're on record as having said gender has nothing to do with genes or gender has nothing to do with genitals, the gender police are coming for you. Genealogy. Here's another word that has classically stayed true to its root word gena. Hey, you want to take a moment to learn some genealogy? Here's a chart of my closest ancestors. This is me, my mother, my father, my grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, and great-great-great-great-grandparents. I have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Half of them come from this side of the family, half of them come from this side of the family. 23 is an odd number, which means my mother either gave me more chromosomes from her mother or from her father. When we come out here to the great-great-great-great-grandparents, we have 64 of these, but I only have 46 chromosomes, which means it's not possible that each of these gave me a complete chromosome. Meanwhile, we have recombination and crossing over during meiosis, which allows for genetic material to be transferred to the chromosomes that did make it to me. And so I am related to all of these. Can you guess which of my individual chromosomes can be identified as coming from one of these individuals? That's correct, my Y chromosome. We know that the Y chromosome comes from your father, and he gets it from his dad. Who got it from his dad? Y chromosomes going all the way back your paternal line. This great-great-great-great paternal grandfather, Jeremiah Lyons, like all of us, had many trillions of genome copies in his physical self, and he roamed the earth with a Y chromosome that is my Y chromosome. We have the same Y chromosome. And if you go all the way back, a bunch of generations, eventually we run into an individual who the geneticists have named Y chromosome Adam. Look him up. He's a cool guy. On my maternal side, I acquired an X chromosome from my mother, but I don't know if that X chromosome came from her mother or from her father. I don't know which of my grandparents shares my X chromosome, and so we can't trace that X chromosome the way that we can trace the Y chromosome. Meanwhile, with females, we do trace mitochondrial DNA because I acquired my mitochondria from my mother, who acquired her mitochondria from her mother, mother. And so all the way out here, my great-great-great-great-grandmother, Caroline Gill, she had the same mitochondria that I have. And if we follow this maternal line out, eventually the geneticists call that individual all the way back mitochondrial Eve. What a cool name. Look her up. Genealogy, the study of generations of progeny. Gena. What if a guy were to say, I'm no female, but I'm going to tell them that I'm female? Because in today's world, when you say you're a female, they have to believe you. Maybe he's a university student who wants to live in a female sorority house. Maybe he's a prisoner who wants to be placed in a female prison. Maybe he just wants access to women's changing rooms, locker rooms, and bathrooms. Maybe he wants to beat women in sports. Maybe he wants to beat women. In contact sports, literally beat women, harm them. Activists who say, oh, that would never happen, no one does that, are galactically naive. Either that, or perhaps they're narcissistic sociopaths who revel in knowing that people, including children, are being harmed mentally, emotionally, and physically harmed to forward their activist agenda. These new definitions of gender are subjective. They don't have objective criteria. Not only are they merely based on how a person feels, but they are solely based on how a person purports to feel. In the absence of objective criteria, the application of these new subjective definitions of gender facilitates disingenuousness, dishonesty, and criminal acts of violence. That's messed up. And if it doesn't bother you, you're messed up. Seek help. We humans call ourselves Homo sapiens. Homo is Latin for human. Sapiens is Latin for wise, intelligent, sapient. We are smart humans, according to this nomenclature. Unfortunately, though, We're the only species on Earth foolish enough to believe that we can be female or male contrary to our genomes. Other mammal species don't accept the mythical, pretend, amateur hour, false, fake sense of female and male promoted by human activists. In return, the activists exclude non-human animals from their definitions of gender. Look closely. According to current activist doctrine, your pet dog Fido doesn't have a gender, nor do the squirrels in your backyard, nor do the white-tailed deer living outside your town. According to these activists, gender is for humans only. My, how anthropocentric. Have we always been this way? Let's look back. 1913, 1828, 1755. Uh-oh, looks like we used to include other species in our definitions of gender. Now I feel guilty. Well, if it makes you feel any better, anthropologists point out that over the years, occasional cultures have dabbled in incorporeal human genders, also anthropocentric. So, fellow humans, Homo sapiens, here's a bit of bad news. If you believe your human superior intellect gives you special female and male options not pursued by other animals, you're wrong and they're right. Imagine that, humans, smart humans falling behind other species in intellect. Really? Says the female orangutan. You humans think that if I were smarter, I would wish to have a male throat sac? Smirks the bull moose. I smell like a male, I look like a male, I fight like a male, but you say if I were smarter, I might want to be a female? That's human dumb. Laughs the female lion. So gender is a social construct. That hurt. Don't you hate it when other species make fun of you? But don't worry, humans, chin up, keep watching this presentation, and before you know it, we'll be back atop the pecking order of intelligence on Earth. A phone call. Okay, Fido the dog is weighing in. We got a phone call from Fido. Let's see what we got.
Fido, good boy, good boy. Good boy. Boy, gender boy, dog. Fido, good boy.
He says he's a boy.
Human.
Yes.
I don't know you, but I love you.
Oh, well, how sweet. Thank you, Fido. Thanks for the call. And thanks. We'll talk soon. And now here we are. Activists, in their attempts to redefine the word gender, accidentally overshot their target, splattering up a whole new problematic mess, which orbits around the creation of a new, contradictional, imaginary dreamland make-believe sense, still in search of a new name. So this has a pretty easy fix. And now viewers this far into it, you understand the title of today's presentation. Activists, it's time for that new name. You didn't create one, so now one has been created for you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we now introduce a new word into our lexicon. Fauxgender! Fauxgender, an incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male, often antithetical to genotypic sex. Fauxgender, faux, French for false, fake, imitation, not found in nature. When humans make something that mimics nature but is clearly man-made, we call it faux. Hey, nice necklace, is that a real emerald? No, it's a faux emerald. Nature makes real emeralds, and when humans create a false emerald, it's faux. Faux diamonds, faux pearls, faux leather, faux marble, faux granite, faux eyelashes, faux nails, faux plants, faux flowers. When the real version comes from nature, we call the man-made imitation faux. Nature gives therian mammals a distinct binary sex, traditionally called gender. Any man-made imitation of gender we'll call faux gender. Let's now revisit those earlier confusing statements on gender to see if our term faux gender is more accurate. There are many genders. No, they're only male and female. There are, however, many faux genders. Oh, that makes sense. Gender is independent from genomic sex. No, it isn't. But you know what is? Faux gender is independent from genomic sex. Aha. I'm gender fluid. No, you're not. But were you to say I'm faux gender fluid, that would make more sense. Gender is a social construct. No, gender comes from the genome. However, faux gender is a social construct by definition. We're considering gender-affirming care for our child. Youch! In the first place, that's faux gender-affirming care. And secondly, whoops, it harms the child, so don't do it. Now we've taken these confusing statements and repaired them with our word faux gender, with our term faux gender. An incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male, often antithetical to genotypic sex. Thank you, faux gender. So when activists use the word gender, they're more often than not abbreviating the correct word faux gender. In American English, there's precedent for incorrectly shortening a word by skipping over its important prefix. When we reference a kilocalorie, we use the word calorie. We clip off that important prefix to shorten the word, but now we're speaking incorrectly. When we Americans say, I'm on a diet of 1,800 calories a day, we're actually trying to say 1,800 kilocalories a day. Of course, a calorie is only 1/1000th of the actual unit kilocalorie, which we're trying to quote. And so the corner market down the way is 1 meter from here. No, a meter's only this far. It's 1 kilometer from here. Oh, you don't get it because you only know miles, not kilometers? Okay. Fellow Americans, pile in the car and let's drive from California to the state of Maine. Yep, it's only 3 miles. No, it's 3,000 miles. We're 1,000 times off. So when American friends say calories, in our minds, we simply reinsert the missing prefix kilo. And when activist friends say gender, in our minds, we simply reinsert the missing prefix faux. In regard to therian mammal females and males, there is no trans. Trans, on or to the other side of, across or beyond, so as to change in form or position. As we've discussed, therians don't change from female to male, male to female. We can't. It's not a feature of our genomes. Our genomes dictate if we are females or males. So if therian mammals can't trans, what is all this trans about? Faux gender. It's about transitioning one's faux gender. It's about transitioning one's incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male, often antithetical to genotypic sex. Activists schemed up a just-for-fun, fairy tale, playtime, fictional sense of female and male, faux gender, and now tell us that this fictional sense can be changed to whatever you want, whenever you want. Trans is merely a feature of faux gender. Of course, we know that our genomes dictate female and male. If a guy's genome is that of a guy, he can't change to a non-guy. He can put on a wig, wear lipstick, take hormones, have surgery, and he's still a guy because he's a therian mammal. His many trillions of genome copies in his physical self can't change to those of a non-guy. He's a human genotypic therian mammal male. He's a guy. If he considers himself trans, and if he takes offense that the world still sees him as a guy, he's taking offense because the world hasn't acknowledged his faux gender. A fake, false, imitation, man-made faux gender isn't acknowledged, and he takes offense. Some viewers of today's presentation may be frustrated by a misunderstanding of this clarification of trans, thinking that I'm telling you you can't pursue something new. To the contrary, I'm telling you you can't get rid of something old. You're a manifestation of your genome. You will always be female or male according to your genome, and you can't get rid of the genome. So, as we say, in Therian mammals, there is no trans. If a human is female or male, that's science. You can take samples of my genome from my blood, my hair, my skin, my cheek swab. As you know, I have many trillions of copies of my genome. And with those samples, you can scientifically prove that I'm male, as you find those Y chromosomes, each with an SRY gene. Also, in my case, you'll find a half representation of my genome in each of my 4 children, who are now adults, showing with mathematical assurance that I am their father. This is also proof that I'm male, because in Therian mammals, only a male can father offspring. So I'm a pretty straightforward case, an easily provable Therian mammal male. Science. But let's say later this year, I identify as female. That would be faux gender, not science. Not only would you not be able to prove that I'm female, not only would you not be able to prove that I'm not male, but samples of my genome would prove that I am male, regardless of my new identity. By the way, how would activists frame that? Would they say a female fathered 4 children, now adults? Would they say a person who was a male fathered 4 children, but now he's no longer a male? Either way, their narrative would be foolishness. Let's say the following year I identify as a male. Hey, I'm back. As a Therian mammal male, did I really change to a Therian mammal female? And as a Therian mammal female, did I really change to a Therian mammal male? Of course not. It's all faux gender. Who are these activists? You're now at this point in the presentation to understand who are the activists. They are the activists of faux gender, the purveyors of a non-existent make-believe sense, the promoters of a fake, incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male contrived as a false replacement for your genome. They are the cheerleaders of their imaginary sense that purports to have the power to change females into males and males into females, a man-made hoax not found in nature. They are the charlatans trying to sell you on the idea that your genome plays no role in your being female or male, that being female and male is simply assigned at birth, often incorrectly assigned, as they tell you that a child can be born in the wrong body. Why would they do this? What are they thinking? Who knows? As we say, living organisms are complex. I imagine for some it begins as a simple thought. Wouldn't it be nice if I could choose to be female or male or both or neither? That sounds innocent enough. We could file that into the category of, wouldn't it be nice if I could choose whether or not I require oxygen? Or wouldn't it be nice if I could flap my arms and fly? Or wouldn't it be nice if I never had to die? Now, our genomes won't allow for these, but what if I don't know much about my genome? Or what if one of these is so enthralling that I'm willing to suspend my understanding of the natural world? Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I sleep at night, I have a wonderful dream where I can flap my arms and fly. Not like a standard bird, but it seems more like a hummingbird. Whoa. And in my dreams, I know that I can't fly, but here I am lifting off. Oh my gosh, guys, I know we can't fly as humans, but whoa, check it out. And I start to flap above the power lines and above the tree lines, and it's amazing. At some point, though, I wake up disappointed. Oh, I can't fly. I wish I could stay in that dream state, even though I know that I can't fly, even in my dreams. But I can. The power to transform is captivating. Do you remember reading about alchemy? The alchemists of yesteryear feverishly searched for a chemical reaction to transform various metals into gold, It made sense at the time. Hey, gold is a chemical compound, right? Let's just find the right chemical reactants and we can create gold and we'll be rich. We'll rule the world. Little did they know that gold isn't a chemical compound, but an element, and that there's no chemical reaction to transform an element. A nuclear reaction would be required. They would have to transform the atom, something that they couldn't do. Today's activists of Fauxgender, like the alchemists of yesteryear, naively search for a process of transformation. The activists don't realize or won't acknowledge that being female or male is a genomic phenomenon, as evidenced by the many trillions of genome copies in the physical being. They don't realize that to transform an individual from female to male, male to female, requires transformation of the genome, something that they can't do. Ah, the genome. The genome. As a culture, what do we understand of our genomes? It seems that many people mistakenly believe DNA to be a leftover remnant of embryonic development. Little bits of vestigial aftermath that still float around, but that don't mean much. Meanwhile, with this presentation, with this film, I have great optimism that we're going to help usher in a new era of cultural understanding of our genomes. That viewers with your billions of brain cells will recognize, wow, I have a copy of my genome in each of my brain cells. This is awesome. I can now see the world through the lens of my genome. The activists of Fauxgender can't stand it when we talk about the human brain and our genomes. Did you dare say the word genome in reference to the human brain? That's so uncool. You can tell why the activists would feel this way, though. Because if a genotypic female, who now identifies as non-binary, still has her female brain, then clearly she's still female, and there's no argument, and the activists have lost. Checkmate. In fact, the activists of Fauxgender are reluctant to concede that there are male kidneys, or a female liver, or a female heart, because to concede that these organs can be female or male is to lose the argument of the brain. Now, of course, the differences in these organs between females and males is well documented and well studied, and particularly pertinent in the field of transplant science. Imagine how utterly ridiculous it would be to suggest that the female brain is no different than the male brain. Why, in my life experience, I see that brain activities such as behavior, emotions, expressions, thoughts, speech, they're the same between females and males. I see no difference. Imagine having to play that role. Who's ready for a pop quiz question? While visiting a ranch, you desire to climb into a corral to interact with cattle. Here's the visual. You should A, stay away from the bull. B, reassure yourself that mammalian sex is a spectrum. There are no true cows or true bulls. C, stay away from the one on the left. Oh, they've included some taxonomy and genome information, if that helps out any. D, feel free to milk either of these. Or E, A and C. Later in the presentation, we'll reveal the answer to the pop quiz question. So Fauxgender is faux, but activism overall is still a good thing, right? Among scientists, activism is discouraged because activism erodes away one of science's most precious features, skepticism. Skepticism drives science. In science, we don't just run with an idea. Hey everybody, I've got an idea, let's run with it. Instead, the idea is met with skepticism. Oh, you've got an idea, huh? You think gravity bends light? Said the skeptical scientific community. Ha, prove it. Helicobacter pylori causes peptic ulcers? Ha, prove it, said the skeptical scientific community. Millions of black holes in our galaxy? Ha, prove it. DNA is a double-stranded helix? Ha, prove it. Each of these 20th century hypotheses met with a healthy dose of skepticism and derision. Yet each passed through the vigorous obstacle course of the scientific method with flying colors, and thus each, over time, has vaulted up to the realm of accepted scientific thought. Valid scientific theory begins as a hypothesis, an unproven idea, viewed with skepticism as it is placed in the refiner's fire of the scientific method with its objective observation and experimentation. If legitimate, the hypothesis over time may just metamorphose into valid scientific theory. It's a process. That a therian mammal is female or male is science, a heavily studied, well-documented science. When we refer to the X and Y chromosomes as sex chromosomes, it is with massive scientific observation and experimentation that they have been proven to determine the sex of therian mammals. The SRY gene is called the sex-determining region Y gene because it is with massive scientific observation and experimentation proven to determine the male sex of therian mammals. Each of these was a hypothesis, now vaulted up to the realm of current scientific theory. Now, be honest. Do we refer to the activists' new unproven ideas on female and male as hypotheses? It seems that many people are so enchanted with Fauxgender that they skipped over the skepticism, that they skipped over the many steps of the scientific method and hustled straight to acceptance. And from there immediately went with breakneck speed from acceptance to militantism. You better believe my make-believe. Now, of course, scientific skeptics say, oh, you think your Fauxgender is real? Huh, prove it. But instead of working to prove their hypotheses, the activists simply called up their friends in the dictionary industry. And bam, done. Hey, who needs the scientific method? We've got dictionaries on our side. Tisk, tisk. Activist, you forgot that female and male are matters of science. But no worries, we all forget things from time to time, and that's why we have this presentation, to set the record straight. By the way, if you were to witness scientific skepticism, what would it look like? You don't know? Have you not been paying attention? White lab coat, embroidered credentials, gray hair, salty professional, science, science, skepticism, derision, science, skepticism, science. This presentation is scientific skepticism. You have been a participant in a full-length feature film that is scientific skepticism at its finest. So these new unproven ideas on a scientific topic are hypotheses, yet they're not treated as hypotheses. Come on, activists, you know how this works. If you want your false, fake, imitation, man-made Fauxgender to have any credibility, you're gonna have to prove your hypotheses. We'll help you get started. At the top of the screen, we'll list the hypothesis. At the bottom of the screen, we'll describe current scientific thought on the matter. And in the center of the screen, we'll address skepticism. So here goes. Fauxgender hypothesis number 1. Developed therian mammals change from female to male, male to female. And the scientific skeptics will say, ha, prove it. More specifically, they'll ask, what is your empirical evidence that developed therian mammals change from female to male, male to female? You see, the scientific method demands empirical evidence. And currently accepted scientific thought, therian mammals do not change from female to male, male to female. So, that's what you're up against with hypothesis number 1. Fauxgender hypothesis number 2. A human genotypic female who now identifies as male is no longer female, despite an unchanged genotype. Wait, what? Oh, it's because she believes she's male and she doesn't want to be reminded that she's still female. Oh, there's more. In like fashion, a human genotypic male who now identifies as female is no longer male despite an unchanged genotype. Well, there you have it. And currently accepted scientific thought, Therian mammals do not change from female to male, male to female, as evidenced by the unchanged genotypes in this hypothesis. Whoa, they're using your hypothesis against you. Why did you mention unchanged genotypes? Well, I guess you had to, right? What is the empiric evidence to suggest a human genotypic female who now identifies as male is no longer female, despite an unchanged genotype? Faux gender hypothesis number 3. In regard to female and male, humans aren't subject to their genome. So this hypothesis is here to support the other hypotheses. Imagine that, hypotheses supporting hypotheses, a veritable house of cards. What empirical evidence suggests that in regard to female and male, humans aren't subject to their genome? And for this, the currently accepted scientific thought is, in Therian mammals, including humans, the genome determines female and male. Faux gender hypothesis number 4, human females father offspring. Hey, we were just talking about that. Skepticism. What empirical evidence suggests that human females father offspring? Currently accepted scientific thought, human females do not father offspring. Faux gender hypothesis number 5, humans have female and male options not available to other Therian mammals. Are you sure you want to include that one? I mean, it's so anthropocentric. Didn't we cover that? Okay. Currently accepted scientific thought. In Therian mammals, including humans, the genome determines female and male. Human sex determination mechanisms are shared with other Therian mammal species. What empirical evidence suggests humans have female and male options not available to other Therian mammals? Faux gender hypothesis number 6. In humans, there's no such thing as a female kidney, a female liver, a female heart, or a female brain. Likewise, in humans, there is no such thing as a male kidney, a male liver, a male heart, or a male brain. Currently accepted scientific thought. In Therian mammals, the cells, tissues, and organs of an individual feature the genome of that individual. As such, a female has female kidneys, a female liver, a female heart, and a female brain. Likewise, a male has male kidneys, a male liver, a male heart, and a male brain. Skepticism. What is the empiric evidence to suggest there's no such thing as a female kidney, a female liver, a female heart, or a female brain? So, activist of faux gender, we got you started on your first half dozen hypotheses. You'll need to get to work on these to prove them, along with the other hypotheses of faux gender. You know, that X and Y chromosomes aren't sex chromosomes, that the SRY gene doesn't determine sex, that children can be born in the wrong body, that faux gender isn't faux. And you ask, why so many hypotheses? Well, faux gender is a lie. And your parents taught you that lies spin off other lies. And now you're dealing with a web of lies. So good luck with that. You may notice that all of these hypotheses line up against the same scientific theme, the Therian mammal genome. So that's why we've been talking so much about the Therian mammal genome. I was beginning to wonder. Hey, here's a thought. Could it be that all of faux gender is founded on a lack of understanding of our genomes? Could it be that as a culture, when we understand our genomes, all of the enthusiasm for faux gender will collapse? It seems we've hit a snag in that earlier pop quiz question. Many who have submitted answers are submitting the wrong answer, D. Feel free to milk either of these. Now, true, free milk is preferred over expensive milk, and true, milk contains vitamin D, but this is actually a trick answer. It's the wrong answer. Don't mark D on your pop quiz card. Later in the presentation, we'll be revealing the answer to the pop quiz question. And it's not D, so don't mark D. Let's now address gender dysphoria in children. We'll begin with the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, text revision. DSM is the manual used by clinicians and researchers to diagnose and classify mental disorders. It's published by the American Psychiatric Association. I love the field of psychiatry, and I have great respect for my colleague physicians in psychiatry, hey guys, who work tirelessly to improve our mental health. Having said that, it's apparent that the American Psychiatric Association leadership has been overrun with activists of faux gender. This must be very troubling to the enlightened psychiatrists who know that faux gender is faux. Let's open up DSM-5TR. They posted an announcement regarding changing the text. Let's read. The text of gender dysphoria was updated to use culturally sensitive language, e.g. desired gender was changed to experienced gender, and cross-sex medical procedure was updated to gender-affirming medical procedure, cross-sex hormone treatment to gender-affirming hormone treatment, natal male to individual assigned male at birth, and natal female to individual assigned female at birth.
Activists. We're activists. You can tell we're activists. There is no truth, there's only our cause. Come march with us, we're activists. We're activists.
Let's open DSM-5TR to read the specific criteria for gender dysphoria in children. Physicians in all fields of medicine consult DSM when we want to read up on mental disorders. And remember, when our activist friends say gender, in our minds we simply reinsert the missing prefix faux. So here goes. Diagnostic criteria, gender dysphoria in children. A marked incongruence between one's experienced/expressed gender and assigned gender of at least 6 months duration, as manifested by at least 6 of the following, one of which must be criterion A1. Number 1, a strong desire to be of the other gender, or an insistence that one is of the other gender or some alternative gender different from one's assigned gender. Number 2, in boys, a strong preference for cross-dressing or simulating female attire, or in girls, a strong preference for wearing only typical masculine clothing and a strong resistance to the wearing of typical feminine clothing. Number 3, a strong preference for cross-gender roles in make-believe play or fantasy play. Number 4, a strong preference for the toys, games, or activities stereotypically used or engaged in by the other gender. Number 5, a strong preference for playmates of the other gender. Number 6, in boys, a strong rejection of typically masculine toys, games, and activities, and a strong avoidance of rough and tumble play. Or in girls, a strong rejection of typically feminine toys, games, and activities. Number 7, a strong dislike of one's sexual anatomy. Number 8, a strong desire for the primary and or secondary sex characteristics that match one's experienced gender. B, the condition is associated with clinically significant distress or impairment in social, school, or other important areas of functioning. My, what an instructive minute that turned out to be. You've just read with me word for word the American Psychiatric Association's criteria to justify telling a girl she's a boy and telling a boy he's a girl. Now, in the real world, most of us recognize that confusing children is bad. That it's bad to tell a girl that she's a boy. It's bad to tell a boy he's a girl. Let's see if we can figure out how this works. Activists, including activist school teachers and activist school counselors, tell children, you get to choose your gender. Call yourself a girl, call yourself a boy. Change from one to the other and then back again. It's easy. Nature has nothing to do with this. What is a genome? Just let us know your desire, let us know your preference, and we'll work with you. After hearing this message over time, now a percentage of the children have desire, preference, preference. Hey, you know what? According to DSM-5TR, with these, you now meet the required 6 of 8 criteria for the diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Come this way. How difficult must it be to be a young student today, sitting in a classroom, having to repeatedly hear this nonsense? To those students who don't fall for it, I tip my hat. And to that student who exclaims, the teacher is nuts, trying to pawn off made-up storytime cartoon town contrivances, I say, well said, young student, well said. Let's say a teenage boy visits a mental health clinic with his mother. He's wearing a t-shirt that says, I hate being male. He turns to the mental health professional and says, I hate being male. I hate my genome. I hate my Y chromosomes. I hate my SRY gene. I've studied this a lot. I'm pretty sure I have gender dysphoria. I can't function in school or in life. I hate being a boy. His mother adds, other health professionals have encouraged him to identify as something other than a male. And the boy continues, but they can't offer me anything that gets rid of my trillions of Y chromosomes in my brain and in my body. I hate them. I hate being a boy. The mother then produces a karyogram and says, we had this karyogram study run to offer clarification. And the boy says, when I saw that Y chromosome, I became so depressed. I hate being a boy. It seems this pediatric patient has significant gender dysphoria and also has a keen understanding of his genome. He knows he's a boy, and he knows medical science can't change his trillions of genome copies from being those of a boy. In this case, health professionals need to address his dysphoria and not try to convince him his genome doesn't matter. He won't fall for that. In other words, in regard to treatment for gender dysphoria, gullible, uninformed, vulnerable patients receive nonsense care aimed at their gender, while patients who understand the genome will receive appropriate care aimed at their dysphoria.
It's really not too hard to figure what went wrong. She's feeling like she's way too much calm. And now I got nobody to produce this song. When I do, I'll be singing it without my baby, without my baby, without my.
This presentation marks the end of the confusion about gender. Let's review. You are a therian mammal. You have a copy of your genome in your many trillions of cells. Your gender comes from your genome, which is why the two words are similar. Your genome's sex chromosomes cause the chemistry of your every cell to be female or male. Your brain, the source of your thoughts, perceptions, and feelings, is a female brain or a male brain according to the genome copies in your brain cells. Medical science can't change any of this. The activists of faux gender continue to promote their incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male, often antithetical to genotypic sex. Their faux gender is false, fake, man-made, not found in nature, and backed by nothing, while your true gender is your genomic sex, backed by your many trillions of genome copies throughout your physical self. There are no trans people, just people. There are no trans kids, just kids. The confusion is over. You're welcome. Now for a moment, I'd like to address those who before watching this presentation believed yourselves to be transgender. You're now okay. You're now free from the deception of faux gender. That which was weighing you down is now gone. You're free. Don't fret. Your transition didn't transition anything. You got caught up in something that isn't real. No worries, we all get caught up in deceptions. They told you you could ditch your genome and replace it with something else. They lied, but you're now okay. You're still the same person your genome has been directing all these years. Your many trillions of genome copies in your physical self remain the same. There's no need for you to detransition because you never transitioned anything real. It was all make-believe. Now, use whatever name you want to call yourself, be the best person you can be, and consult with competent physicians to explore your best health options. Bask in the liberating freedom of the truth you've learned about your genome. You're no longer susceptible to their deception. Have a great life. Live free. Congratulations. Let me now introduce you to Big Healthcare, the folks I work with every day. In the movies, Bond villains dream of world domination. In real life, Big Healthcare is getting close to achieving it. In the United States, average citizens pay a sizable percentage of everything they ever earn over a lifetime to Big Healthcare. Extrapolate that to the world market, and you can imagine how much money Big Healthcare rakes in. Big Healthcare makes most of its money offering goods and services for chronic medical disorders. Those disorders that can be treated with daily treatment, but that can't yet be cured. Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, dementia, COPD, the list goes on. Now, older people tend to have more chronic disorders. It would be profitable for Big Healthcare to enroll younger patients with longer lifespans, but young people tend to be healthy. Meanwhile, when people fall for the deception of faux gender and pursue faux gender, they become chronic patients, regardless of their age. Is this young child faux gender? Asks Big Healthcare. Well, we must give counseling, hormones, surgical procedures, and devices to this young child. Welcome, young chronic patient. In the 2005 film Robots, corporate robots concoct an advertising campaign to persuade the robot public to buy their new expensive upgrades. The corporation's slogan, "You can shine no matter what you're made of," is challenged by a lead executive robot. Now, let's get down to the business of sucking every loose penny out of Mr. and Mrs. Average Knucklehead. What's our big ticket item? Upgrades, people, upgrades. That's how we make the dough. Now, if we're telling robots that no matter what they're made of, they're fine, how can we expect them to feel crummy enough about themselves to buy our upgrades and make themselves look better? Therefore, I've come up with a new slogan. Why be you when you can be new? Now, does big healthcare make more money when you feel good about yourself? Or does big healthcare make more money when you feel crummy enough about yourself and your gender to pursue their goods and services? Of course, this is an area where big health and I clash. I'm a physician dedicated to preventing medical problems, while big healthcare is a swarm of corporations dedicated to profiting from those same medical problems that I'm trying to prevent. Are you bothered that big health looks a lot like a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Tyrannosaurus Rex? The presentation is winding down. How are you doing on that exam? I bet now that you've participated in most all of this film, you can ace that exam. And it's not an easy exam. Hey, does the Academy have an award for the smartest film? What, you don't think Hollywood will appreciate our presentation? Activists want us to believe the world is divided on the issue of Fauxgender. We're not divided. Only a small percentage of people buy into it. The rest of us, the great majority, have known all along that Fauxgender is incorrect. We just didn't know what to call it, or how to define it, or what to say. Now we call it Fauxgender. We define it as an incorporeal, socially constructed conceptualization of female and male, often antithetical to genotypic sex. And we say, hey activist, how are you coming along with those hypotheses? Yes, female and male is a matter of science, and your unproven ideas are hypotheses, and we're skeptical of them, as we should be. I hope this film is of great worth to you, introducing the human family to our Therian mammal genomes, also to the paramount nature of skepticism in science. How did you like the segment on genealogy and the concept of Genome? It was pretty wild. You may not have known me before this presentation, but now you know me as well as 6 generations of my forebearers. If that genealogy fan chart keeps going out, eventually it will include your ancestors as well, because we're all part of the same family. We're all on the same team. Yes, we're a team, and by making this film, I am that teammate who's stepping up his game. I'm playing my heart out. I'm leaving it all on the field. I'm taking one for the team. Join us. What's the name of the team, you ask? Therian Mammals. Join us at therianmammals.com. Enrollment is free. Enroll yourself, enroll your pet hamster, that favorite coyote in the neighborhood. Enrollment is free. And when you're ready to be a really good teammate, we need you to donate generously to this project. We're going to win. Go Therian Mammals! A special welcome to those viewing this film 100 years from now. Welcome viewers from the year 2124. What a wonderful surprise that you're here. This must mean that the film did in fact have great cultural impact, and perhaps you're watching for historical reasons. Welcome. Feel free to join us and donate generously to this legacy project. They say you just can't go wrong if you follow your heart and end with a song. With that, we're going to close out with the Therian Mammals House Band and their new hit, Fauxgender. Enjoy your arcade games and take care.
Secret safe space. Won't you tell us about genomes? We love nature and our Earth home. She writes for us her poems.